All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Um, so it's been a while since I've recorded, but I'm trying to get back into it for everybody that is following my podcast, Hermit Radio, and you can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts. But we're here today to talk about my book that I just published, Caveman to Philosopher. Um, I'm pretty proud. It's been a long time coming. I've been working on it for a year now. And basically, what I had to do was I had to do it during COVID and while I was in my first semester of school. So it was challenging at times for sure, but it was definitely worth the effort. Um, and if you want a copy of Caveman to Philosopher, you can get it from me for free at hermitradio at gmail.com. At least for this first iteration, I have about 100 copies. I'm going to give those away for free. And all I ask is that if you do want a copy and you're not in the state of Tennessee, that you just pay for shipping and you can Venmo me or whatever. After the 100 copies is gone, I will consider putting it on Amazon and actually selling it. But for this first go around, I thought that it would probably just be best if I just gave it away for free. Um, so let's talk about it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cameron. The reason I do this, I started a podcast probably almost 2 years ago. So I went through a spiritual awakening. I was a veteran of the Afghanistan war. I was in the military for 8 years. And after an extensive amount of suffering, um, I wanted to change. I wanted to understand myself better. I wanted to get better. And I wanted to learn about the mind and how all of this is affecting me. The one question that really started all of it was me asking myself over and over again, like, why am I so angry? What is the deal here? Like, what do I keep doing that is causing me to be so frustrated and full of so much pain? And when I started asking myself that question, it started to become apparent that obviously I was my own problem because there's no thing that actually makes you angry. Okay. There's no thing, no person that makes you angry. You allow yourself to be angry. And that's something I talk about in the book. It's not easy. It is not easy, and it is not easy to do this. It is not easy to have that frame of mind. But unfortunately, this is our journey. This is what we have to do. And if you are struggling with things like anxiety and depression and anger, it is because you have something going on that you need to work out. And I know that seems obvious, but it's the truth. The truth of the matter is that we are our own problem, but we are this in the same breath, we are our own solution. We provide our own answers when we look deeply enough, right? And I'm sure some of you listening or watching this might be thinking about like, well, in meditation and in Buddhism and spirituality, they talk about how it's all within you, right? Like you've probably heard that before. Everything is within you. That is 100% true. But for some people, they don't know what that actually means, right? And it sometimes can sound like this hokey thing where it's like bullshit, like, oh yeah, it's within me, right? I'm this thing. Um, and all I can say to that is yes, and it sounds hokey, but it's only because in the West, in the United States, we don't see things that way. We don't see things from a spiritual perspective. And that's what I try to clear up. That's the kind of thing that I talk about. So in the book, the first half is about my life. It's about me and what got me to where I am now. And then in the second half of the book, I talk about the things exactly that I did that got me to a better place. Okay. So some of the things we talk about, we're talking about the ego, right? So, like, what is the ego? What is that, right? And again, in a Western perspective, we think about the ego as like a facade, right? But that's exactly what it is. The ego is this, it is your exterior personality, and that is developed over however many years you've been alive. It's developed from going to school, it's developed from how you're raised with your parents, and it's around being your friends, right? And if you look deeply enough at the nature of yourself, right? Like one of the things that I did, not to get off topic here, but one of the things that I did when I was going through this process was I made a list of all the things that made me happy. And then I started to have some scrutiny about that. I'm like, well, why does that actually make me happy? Does it actually make me happy, or have I just done it long enough that I think that it makes me happy? And I know that that sounds probably like a lot of brain stress, but it is 100% necessary to understanding you and understanding yourself. So this is the inner work. This is what you have to do if you want to live a better life. And to be clear, I am not perfect. Um, I've never claimed to be perfect, but it does help, right? These things do and can help if you allow them to. You just have to find a way. You have to find a way to allow yourself to be, because, okay, and so this is the thing about the ego. When you're doing inner work, you might question these things and you might be like, well, that's bullshit. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if that makes sense. Right. And then like another tool in the book is meditation. And your ego probably is sitting here thinking right now, meditation's dumb. I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit for that long. But that's precisely why the problem, why it is a problem. Your ego tells you that it's not something you want to do, right? Just in the same sense that like you may not want to go to the gym. You may not want to, go to work, right? Even though you know you have to and inevitably you're going to, but it doesn't stop you from getting angry about it and obsessing about it. So that's what I'm trying to talk about when I'm talking about the ego, okay? And I'll do more videos now that I'm going to try and get back on YouTube. I will try to get more in-depth videos to back up what I'm talking about. But if you really want to get understanding, get the book. And in the book, I try to give you, and it's not a long book. You can see here, it's about 110 pages. And I did that on purpose. I could have made a real lengthy book, but I know people don't read that much these days, and I didn't want to make something that would have been so extensive that people wouldn't have been interested. So I get it. But anyways, it's a short book. I think that you can get what you need out of it. And then later on, I will probably make another book that is much more lengthy and in depth, so that the stuff I'm talking about will seem a little bit clearer. So another tool is meditation. And I could go on for hours about meditation, but I'll save you the trouble. Everybody knows that meditation um, can help, right? Everybody knows that meditation is something that's good, but we just don't fully understand what that is. So here's the short, sweet answer on meditation. Okay, meditation is great, but it's only great if you allow yourself to do it. It's only great if you can sit down and actually allow yourself to be calm. And in some, aspects, I'm sure you've heard like meditation is like about emptying the mind or to stop thinking. I want to be clear on this. Trying to stop thinking is like trying to stop your heart from beating. Okay. Your mind, your brain is a very complex uh, organ that has evolved over thousands, maybe even millions of years, right? It is not something that is just to be trifled with. You can't just turn off your brain, right? You know that, but you want to. I know that, I mean, at least for me in my life, there have been times where I've certainly wanted to turn my brain off, but you can't. You can't turn your brain off. You can't shut off the thinking, but you can learn how to manage it. And you can certainly learn what thinking is, where your thoughts come from, and how to identify when it's just something that's stupid that doesn't have any relevance to anything. What gets us hung up on thoughts is when we cling to our thoughts, when we cling to an idea that is not necessarily true or relevant to our lives, but we get hung up on the theatrical side of it, right? When you think badly about yourself, that doesn't make it true. It just means that that's what you're thinking about. And you can change that. But more importantly, you will get to a place where, yes, you can change your thoughts, but you will catch your thoughts when they're negative and you'll realize what they are and you'll stop doing it. That's where you want to be. Okay. And then towards the end of the book, I talk about ego, meditation, and forgiveness. I think forgiveness is a huge, huge part of working on yourself. Reason being is because a lot of think about your everyday life, right? What are things that you get frustrated and angry about? Can you think of like 3 items, right? How many of those things that you get frustrated or angry about are people? How many times in your day are you getting mad at things that people are doing, right? whether it's because they're a Democrat or they're a Republican or they're anti-vax or they're for vax, right? Um, how many times are you getting mad at somebody for what they're doing? For me, it was a lot. I was getting mad at people for very dumb things, and that's unnecessary because you know as well as I do, you can't control that. You can't do anything about what people do, especially when they're doing it to you. But when you perceive somebody to do something to you, that is again a perception problem because nobody is truly doing anything to you. They are just doing things and you are taking it as if they are doing it to you. Now, that's certainly not necessarily true if somebody's trying to kill you, but how often is that actually happening to you? How many times in your everyday to day is somebody pulling a gun on you and saying, "Hey," right? I'm not denying that that doesn't happen because it certainly does. But I'm talking about you personally in your waking everyday life. How often is your life being threatened by a person to person interaction? Is it more so that like you're in traffic and somebody cuts you off and you get pissed off about it? Or when you go to Starbucks, maybe they screw up your order because they weren't paying attention, right? So why is forgiveness important? Because how many times have you fucked up? How many times have you fucked something up and it affected somebody else, right? How many times have you cut somebody off in traffic? Or if you're a Starbucks employee, how many times have you messed up somebody's order, right? That's how we can have forgiveness because we realize that we are not perfect and that we make mistakes too. So it is more about learning how to forgive other people because we make mistakes too. And the reason that this is critically important is because our fundamental lives could change tomorrow if everybody was on board with forgiveness, forgiving other people. If we all just agreed today to be like, you know what, tomorrow, instead of getting mad at people, I'm going to forgive them. Wow, could you imagine the change in the world if we got on the same page? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine the level of wonder and excitement there would be in the world if you didn't have to worry so much about what other people are thinking and doing to you, right? That's the problem. That's the problem with our society the way it is. We don't like going out in public because we're afraid of other people. We might not say that publicly, but we're afraid of other people. And that is fundamentally why going out in public sucks, right? COVID was a blessing for some people because they never had to leave their house again. And that's okay if that's you and you like being in your house. Dude, nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with being a homebody. That's totally me too. But how much of it is because you're afraid of going and talking to people and you're afraid of them judging you or you're afraid of them getting mad at you or afraid of them robbing you, right? I mean, when if you want to take it to the extreme. And that sucks because living in fear is not a place where you want to be. And it's only that way because we've allowed it to be this way. But we have totally the ability to fix this. We have the extreme ability to make a difference in this world. We do. We hold the keys in our hands. Um, and so I'm hoping that my book is helpful for that. I hope that people who read my book get an idea of some of that. I mean, again, it's not a long book, so it's not going to take you down into a deep dive. It's not like a lengthy course on this, but it's a start. It's something that can open the door for you to build a foundation to understanding yourself and other people better. That's all I've ever wanted to do with my life and with the things that I do. If you're not following my podcast, I would strongly encourage you to go check that out too. If you're listening to podcasts, um, the genre and what I do, you could say is, spirituality, but it's also self-help because I also appreciate psychology and that approach too. Because really, my belief is that they go hand in hand. Spirituality, religion, and self-help in psychology, they go hand in hand. And they could totally help each other if we are open-minded enough to allow them to help each other. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about understanding the mind and how to be one with it and not let it control you. That's really all it comes down to. But thanks for joining me on this short stream. If you're watching this later, again, appreciate you. And I'm going to try to do this more often. So again, check out my book. Caveman to Philosopher. If you are interested and you want to get a copy, right now where it's available is through me. So email me at hermitradio@gmail.com. Send me your name and your address, and I'll send you a copy. And we'll work out the details about how to do shipping and all of that. But all I care about right now is getting it to people so that they can read it. But this has been another episode of Hermit Radio. Thanks for joining me, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Leave a comment below if you want to know more or if this was helpful for you. But be expecting in the future some more lengthy streams and videos from me kind of going in depth about the stuff that I was just talking about. But we'll catch you next time.